fact, remember I told you all about that show on BET called Blew the Bag. And on that show, Blew the Bag, the guy when he won the lottery and he won a whole lot of money, like 50, $100,000. And they said, well, well, how did you lose all that money so fast? He said, man, I went out and I bought out the whole top floor of a hotel. He said I ordered a bunch of strippers and a bunch of liquor, and all the money, and eventually all the money was gone. And so what culture do you think he was imitating? He was imitating the rapper culture, right? This sort of false, hyper masculine, highly irresponsible, very immature, very childish, outlandish, extreme behavior, and very wasteful behavior. That's not how a man behaves, in my view, especially not a man who wants to create a healthy community around him, right? Or a man who wants to live a long, healthy life, or a man who wants to be in a space where he's stable and secure. And I do also believe, though, that the men who do behave this way, I believe even they don't want to be like that. They just don't know any different. They weren't really trained on what masculinity, what manhood looks like. And this is one of the reasons why the missing father in the black household has been so impactful economically on the black community. A lot of these boys, when they grow up, they're like, why would I get married? Why would I take responsibility for a family when I could just do fun stuff all day? Like who would want to do work, when you could just be doing fun stuff if there's no purpose behind the work? Seriously, I'm a married man, and let me just tell you, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Being married and taking care of kids is not as much fun as sitting around, having pleasure all day. It's not. It's not. So you say, well, why would you do that, boys? Why would you choose to do that when you could be just having fun? Well, for the same reason that when I eat food, I sat down, I ate a salad for lunch. I could have been eating ice cream. Well, why did I eat ice cream? Well, because if I eat ice cream all day, every day, I'm going to be 400 pounds and I'm going to die from diabetes or heart attack. So I'm thinking about the long-term effects of this behavior and not just the short-term stuff. So when you look at, for example, a guy like a rapper DMX, who his whole life, I remember when I was 28 years old, and this was before I got to know Dame Dash. I got to know Dame Dash extremely well, and but I didn't know Dame at the time. And I saw Dame on this documentary with him and Jay-Z and DMX, and they were all on tour together. And I was 28 years old. I was in graduate school, so I'm nobody's catch. None of the girls liked me or anything. I didn't even meet girls because I was sitting at home studying all the time. And I was watching these rappers living this dream life on the road, and they interviewed DMX, and they said, so what do you do on tour? Why are you out here on tour, DMX? What you been up to? He said, nothing. Just smoke all day, walk all night. You know how DMX talks, right? So basically, I smoke weed all day, or I smoke something all day, and then I have sex all night, right? So what that is constant pleasure seeking behavior, which I believe is more likely to occur amongst traumatized people, because traumatized people are in pain, so they can end up self-medicating. And then when there's no boundaries, that's when you form these various addictions, right? And so for men, the four vices and addictions that can destroy man are typically sex, drugs, alcohol, or gambling, if they are not held in moderation. So there has to be some sense of purpose that maintains boundaries on the man's behavior. There has to be some sense of purpose where the man says, okay, I've done a little bit of partying. Now it's time for me to go back to work. There has to be some sense of purpose where the man says, yeah, I could have three women at one time, but I need to focus on one because I got other stuff to do, right? There has to be some sense of purpose where the man says, yeah, I could eat more fried chicken and ice cream, but I got to watch my weight and I want to watch my health, right? There has to be some sense of purpose, right? And purpose and balance. And so DMX, when I heard this at 28, I said, I remember thinking that does not sound healthy. This is not going to end well for this man. This man is how you going to live long if that's all you do all day? And I didn't know what he was smoking. I thought it was just marijuana. He was smoking cocaine. So you go for fast forward 20 something years later, DMX is 40 something year old man. He's got, the product of all that sex, all these kids just splattered everywhere. Half of them don't know him or like him that much. He had the whole blow up with his son on Ayanna Van Zant show. The drug addiction has clearly shown signs. He's now physically weak and, mentally unstable. And he's also financially devastated, right? So for the most part, what should have been a $10 billion legacy, right? DMX easily was a $5 to $10 billion economic asset. He probably would have been bigger than Tupac Shakur, in my opinion, because I love Tupac. I like DMX more than I like Tupac. I like Jay Z, but I like DMX more than I like Jay Z. He was gonna be bigger the same year. He sold more albums than Jay Z. But instead of that, what did you get? Well, you get a sad man who dies, at a very early age with a really, really damaged legacy that could have been so much more. So what I want you to sort of process is not just, and it's not just about the money, it's about the money, and it's also about all the things that are more valuable than money, all the things that money cannot buy. So what happens if instead of us encouraging or allowing white folks to convince us to embrace a culture that leads to that level of waste and self-destruction, what if we take a conscious effort to make sure that we manage our boys, that we manage the psyches of our boys? What if we just said, we're going to make sure our boys go through a rite of passage so they really learn how to be men in this world, so they're not running around here like these 40-year-old teenagers doing things that children do. I look online and I see 38-year-old men getting into violent hip hop beefs and literally doing things that teenagers do, right? Because all you know how to do is be young. All you know how to do is be a kid.